Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Only One. My name is Bonnie, and I thought today I would just talk about some of the main interesting true crime stories that have happened the past week or so. And you know, I'm not an expert, don't claim to be, but I am a true crime enthusiast, and I have been talking a lot about some of these stories on my TikTok channel. So I thought I'd just come over here and put them all together into one video. So let's start out with what happened with the Letecia Stauch trial. Letecia Stauch has been on trial for murdering her stepson, Gannon Stauch. He was only 11 years old when she brutally murdered him in 2020. She went on to actually come up with crazy stories. The trial was very interesting because it actually went through a lot of the stories, and there was so much evidence to show that she did this crime, that she is an evil, crazy person. But her defense was actually trying to not say that she's innocent, but to say that she's guilty, but she actually has multiple personality disorder, or what's now called DID, dissociative identity disorder. Whether or not you believe it is a legitimate diagnosis, that's controversial to begin with, but she clearly didn't have it. She was just trying to manipulate everybody once again into trying to believe that, she wasn't responsible. Oh, and I almost forgot to say, one of the craziest parts, or I hate to say entertaining, but parts of Letecia Stauch's trial was when Maria came out. Maria is the personality that Letecia Stauch claims actually was the murderer. And the person's name was Maria, I don't know, Maria Sanchez or something. And she said she was a Spanish-speaking, Russian-speaking, trained killer. And so then this expert, who herself was questionable, had an interview with Letecia Stauch where Maria came out, came forward, and she put on this really cheesy Russian accent. It was like, I am the protector, I am a trained killer. And she claims that this personality was responsible for murdering Gannon, although even then she never ever told the truth. Even with all these crazy stories, she tells part truths. She says she shot him, but the medical examiner shows that he had like 18 stab wounds, blunt force trauma to the head. He was shot in the head. She just says that he stood up wearing his bed covers, and it made him look really tall because he was standing on his bed, and it looked like he was wearing a cloak. And so this Maria character thought it was like a bad guy that she was trying to protect the family from. Nobody believes you, Letecia. Luckily, the jury didn't believe it.
And I fired the gun. I did not know, didn't have a safety. I didn't know any of that, but that's what I do. I'm trained to do that, okay? You're trained to kill, okay? I'm trained to kill. That's what I do. But trained to kill. I'm trained to kill. That's what I do. Trained to kill, okay? That's what I do. I kill for a living, okay? Anyone that tries to hurt me, I'm trained to kill, okay? That hurts anyone or no. That hurts the people that I care about. Okay, so yes, yeah, that hurts. Yes, and that's what I did.
It was a very interesting trial, and it concluded the other day when the jury found her guilty. She was found guilty on all of the counts. Thank goodness. First-degree murder, guilty on the count of first-degree murder of a child under 12 years old, and she's a person of trust. And then also they found her guilty of tampering with evidence and tampering with a deceased body. So luckily the jury actually saw what the rest of the world saw, which was that she's just evil and not, insane legally. And then the judge gave her the mandatory sentence, which was life without parole. Secondly, today is Thursday, and the closing statements for the Vallow Daybell trial is expected to happen today, and then the jury will very soon be deliberating over whether or not she is guilty. So the Vallow Daybell trial has also been wild. Like, I cannot keep up with what's going on. It's insane. Unfortunately, there aren't cameras in the courtroom for this trial, but there is audio and lots of people who are covering day by day. So both sides have rested. The prosecution had called many witnesses. We've heard texts, we've heard things, crazy things about Chad and Lori. And it's even worse than the original story that had come out about Lori murdering JJ and Tylee and having some part to do with killing Tammy Daybell. The prosecution rested, and then the defense decided to not call any witnesses. Okay, they're just not giving a defense. And Lori decided not to take the stand in her own defense either, which she has the right to do. So now we're just waiting on their closing statements, which are happening today. And then hopefully we'll get a verdict pretty soon. I don't know. In my opinion, I think it's obvious that she's guilty, but whether or not she actually did the murder or just conspired with Chad and her brother, I guess those are the details to see what she's guilty of. Oh my gosh. And then yesterday I heard this crazy story, and I don't know if you've heard this one or not, but there's a woman named Kouri Richins. Okay, if you don't know the story already, listen to this. Back in 2022, okay, March of 2022, a little over a year ago, a man, 39 years old, from Utah, named Eric Richins, suddenly dropped dead. He was a father to three young sons, married to his wife, Kouri, and he suddenly died one night, okay? But what happened was a year later, almost exactly a year later, so just this past March of 2023, his widow, Kouri, went and wrote and published a children's book. That's kind of nice. A little children's book all about grieving. You know, she said that she was trying to help her young children deal with the death of their father. So she's going around and promoting her book on like local TV.
I just wanted some story to read to my kids at night, and I just could not find anything. I couldn't find anything that really, suited them or helped them find comfort and peace. And so, I was like, let's just write one.
This past Monday, a couple days ago, she was charged with his murder. According to her, she originally told the police this story. On March the 3rd, 2022, they had been celebrating because I guess she had some kind of a business where she was like trying to flip houses, something like that. And she wanted to buy this expensive house. And she said they were celebrating the close of this house. So that evening, she made her husband a Moscow Mule, like a mixed drink. She brought it to him, and he was drinking it while he was in bed. She went off to deal with one of the children who was having some nightmares. She was staying with the kid to comfort them, and she ended up falling asleep in the kid's bedroom. When she awoke, it was around 3 a.m. She returned to her and her husband's bedroom, and she found that he was cold to the touch. He wasn't breathing. So she called 911. The ambulance came, they couldn't revive him. He passed away. The medical examiner determined that there were 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. Kouri tried to explain it away, saying, oh, he had a pain pill addiction, something like that, which nobody has said is true. Then the family of Eric Richins was suspicious of Kouri right from the start, because apparently Eric had told some family members and some friends that he actually was worried that Kouri may be trying to poison him. Back in Valentine's Day of 2022, so about a month or so before several weeks before he died, he got violently ill after she had made something for their Valentine's Day dinner. And after that happened, he had told one of his friends, I think Kouri's actually trying to poison me. I don't really trust her. What led him to that conclusion, I don't know. Who knows? But he was starting to have some of these kind of feelings. And apparently 2 weeks before the Valentine's Day dinner, there's evidence that she actually ordered fentanyl from some acquaintance, some drug pill dealing person. She had said that she wanted some Michael Jackson type stuff for a friend or something. So she ended up buying $900 worth of fentanyl pills. And then Eric gets sick at the Valentine's Day dinner, okay? Then a couple weeks after that, because he didn't die from that, a couple weeks after that, she orders more fentanyl pills. And then she serves him this drink. March the 3rd evening, March the 4th early morning, he's dead. To me, the audacity of, first of all, murdering your husband, and then blaming him, saying, oh, he must have OD'd on some pills or something, and then writing a children's book and going on live, like on TV, to try to promote it. The book was called Are You With Me? And there's even like a little picture of Eric as an angel. And I mean, the concept of the book is great if she wasn't the one responsible for his death. I mean, it's really, really creepy. She's been charged. Now, there's so much more to this story. You know, he actually changed her as the beneficiary to his will, and he changed the power of attorney, all of it, over to his sister. So she was obviously the beneficiary, but then he changed it shortly before his death to his sister, but never told Kouri. Should have told her, it might have saved his life. But then Kouri didn't even know. She thought that she was the one who was going to like inherit all the money after he, you know, died. But the day after his death on March the 5th, she was having some people over to her house, like a family gathering or something. Eric's sister comes over and says, you know, you're not the beneficiary of the will. I am. Something happened. Apparently, according to the warrants that I've heard about, Kouri got so upset with the sister that she actually tried to assault her. And then she tried to sue the sister for the house, like all the money, all the estate, because she says that it was in her prenup and she actually should be the person getting all the money. But I mean, all the legal stuff is kind of ongoing right now because she's just charged with his murder. So I think that gets put on hold. She's also being charged with drug possession and things like that because of all the fentanyl and GHB she was in possession of. It's insane. Another trial that is still ongoing is that of Trezell and Jacqueline West, who are accused of murdering their two adopted sons who were originally born Classic and Sincere, but they later changed their names once they adopted them to Joran and Orson. And they were 3 and 4 years old when they disappeared, but the parents are being charged with their murder. And the defense is saying there's no bodies, there's no evidence of even them being dead. This is just a missing persons case, whereas the prosecution is saying, no, they actually murdered these two babies, 3 and 4 years old, and then later claimed that it was a case where the two boys had been abducted or wandered off and they can't find the kids. This case also has not been televised, but I have been able to follow it because you can get a copy of the audio, and some people have been basically doing a recap every day of the trial. So we're at the point where they've had several witnesses come on the stand, including some of the other children. The couple also has 2 biological children and 2 other adopted children that were all older. So they've actually had some of the testimony from those children, one of whom was 10 years old when this happened. It's difficult because there's a lot of circumstantial evidence. That trial is still ongoing. The mother of the 6-year-old child who shot his teacher in Virginia back in January, the mother has not done any interviews until yesterday. And so she went on and was interviewed sitting next to her lawyer, who's kind of creepy, in my opinion. And it was, I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments, but here is the interview.
She wants people to know she's a good mom.
While school shootings in the U.S. are no longer a rarity, what happened at this Virginia elementary school in January was shocking. The shooter was only 6 years old. The victim, his 25-year-old teacher, Abigail Werner. Despite being shot, she managed to get all of her students to safety.
Female victim, she's been shot in the abdomen as well as a through and through into the hand.
Amid the ongoing criminal and civil cases, the family of the first grader who shot his teacher has remained quiet until now.
Does he talk about the incident?
No. We talk, we play, we, do Uno, draw pictures, like nothing of the incident.
Deja Taylor says she was stunned on January 6th when she got a phone call that there had been a shooting at her child's school.
I wasn't even able to get dressed. I ran out in PJs to the school.
Has he processed the magnitude of what happened?
Well, in my opinion, he processes the events leading up to it. He talks a lot more about the day before or the 2 days before than he does about January 6th.
You released a statement shortly after the incident, and I just want to quote it. You said, "Our son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father attending school with him and accompanying him to class every day. The week of the shooting was the first week when we were not in class with him." What can you tell us specifically about your son's disability?
He has ADHD. Some are able to have it at a very mild rate, but he's off the wall, doesn't sit still, ever.
And why did the school decide that it was no longer necessary for the family to be in class?
Because we ended up working with another doctor. He had started medication, and he was meeting his goals academically.
Had your son ever spoken about hurting the teacher, or was there anything, any angst that he had against her?
No, he actually really liked her. I will say that week he did come home and he was talking, a lot about how he felt like he was being ignored. So he would come home and, "Mom, I don't think that she was listening to me. I didn't like that." And then actually he ended up getting suspended the next day because he was in class. He was trying to tell her something. And she asked him to go sit back down. He threw his arms up, he said, "Fine." And when he threw his arms up, he knocked her phone out of her hand on accident. And he got suspended for that.
Zwerner did not respond to ABC News' request for comment, but in a lawsuit, she says the student slammed the cell phone on the ground so hard that it cracked and shattered. She's now filed a $40 million lawsuit against the Newport News School District and Rich Neck Elementary officials, claiming they ignored multiple warnings about the student's behavior and concerns that he had a gun. According to the suit, the child had a history of random violence and that he attacked students and teachers alike, both in and out of school.
Is that description accurate?
Whether it is or it isn't, the school enrolled him in September knowing all of the past behaviors, and they also knew that he had not attended only about 2 months of kindergarten and about 2 months of pre-K.
And you say that to say that they then own the responsibility?
Absolutely. If they believed all these behaviors to be true, and they should not have allowed him to be into first grade.
The school district released a statement to ABC News saying it cannot release information about a student's educational record. And last month, the district filed to dismiss Zwerner's suit, arguing her injuries fall under workers' compensation. The gun used in the shooting was legally purchased by Taylor. She says it was kept locked away.
How did your son access the gun?
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
You'd have to ask him.
Have you asked him?
No, not yet. That's certainly something that will be probably brought out during litigation.
Let me just ask this, and I'll direct it to you, Jimmy. Is it that no one has asked him how he got it, or you're just not ready to reveal how he got it?
We're not ready to discuss that at this point.
Understood.
Yes, people have talked to him about that. I don't know that any adult knows exactly how he got the gun.
Was the gun locked somewhere? It was locked somewhere.
Sounds to me like she's blaming ADHD for the child's behavior, and she also kind of blames the teacher and the school, but she doesn't seem to take any responsibility of her own. Her trial, I think, is going to be in August. She's being charged with child neglect because the child got the gun from her somehow. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes, but I don't know. I think it's disgusting that the teacher is, basically the school is saying, oh, she should just get some workman's comp for being shot in her classroom. And Natalie Holloway, her case is back in the news because, just as a quick recap, Natalie Holloway was 18 years old back in 2005 when she went missing. She went to Aruba on her high school graduation trip, and she went out to a nightclub and was never seen again. Her body has never been found. The person who's like the prime suspect in that whole case was this guy named Joran van der Sloot. He's Dutch. And he was always like the prime suspect because he was one of the last people to ever see her alive. He was one of the people that kind of left the nightclub with her. They haven't been able to convict him because there's not enough evidence. However, he has been in Peru because he has been serving a 28-year sentence for murdering a different girl. In 2010, he murdered a 21-year-old girl named Stephanie Flores. And so he's been serving a sentence in Peru for that murder. But now Peru is extraditing him back to the US because he is being indicted for, it's connected with the Holloway case, but it's not for her murder. He's been indicted for actually extortion and wire fraud charges because he had tried to extort Natalee Holloway's family out of money. He basically was asking Beth, Natalee's mother, for $250,000 in order to get some details, some information on how Natalee died. And then he was going to point out where her remains were. So he said, I want $25,000 up front, which Beth paid because she wanted to know where Natalee was. And so it was like an FBI sting operation. He ended up going and like pointing out some random place in Aruba, which he later in emails confessed that he just made the whole thing up just to get money. There's so many more true crime things that have happened in the past week or so, but we'll leave it there for now. I will end with this clip, a little bit more lighthearted, and it is the perfect video to combine two of my favorite things, true crime and screaming goats. So here's a body cam footage of an Oklahoma police searching for somebody who they thought was yelling for help.
I think it's a person. That's a person. Is it goat? Oh, it is.
I think I keep hearing somebody yell help. And I'm standing outside in her backyard. I'm like, I hear it. But I don't know if it's an animal or a person. But sure enough, we're walking over here. I'm like, that's a person.
Yeah, from a long distance, sounds like help.
Thank you for joining me here on Only One Again. I'll see you next time.